Good morning, my fellow summer gourmet detoxers. How are you doing? This is Emma, your holistic health coach, and I'm really excited to wrap up 1 week of summer gourmet detox. There's been a lot of amazing things happening. You've been doing awesome, and I want to hear everything about it today. I want to celebrate your success and also give you some words of advice as you're going to transition tomorrow back to your normal diet. So before we get into the topic, I'd like to make sure that each and every one of you can see me. Can see the presentation that I'm sharing. So if you can see the slides and you can hear me, please raise your hand on the control panel. Awesome. You also have a chat function that you can use if you'd like to ask me some questions rather than speak up. You also are able to speak out loud on this webcast. Everyone is on mute until I unmute you. So I'll certainly do that when it's time to share your awesome results. Great. So let's get started. Here's my agenda for today. I like to go through some of the learnings that you have experienced this week. So what did you learn about yourself this week? I also would like you to share with us what were some of the results you've achieved for yourself. And we'll talk about next steps for tomorrow. I'll share with you 5 or 6 words of advice that will help you stay on track, not only tomorrow, but hopefully for the rest of your life. What's really amazing when you do 7 days of summer gourmet detox or winter or spring summer detox, you really learn how your body works. When you give him the right food, you feel very different. And so that's really what I want to hear from you. I want to know what you've learned about yourself that you did not know prior to this week. Or maybe some of the things that you suspected your body thrived on, but you had not confirmed it, or this detox really helped you further your understanding of how your body works and what makes it thrives. So is anyone here on the call wanting to share their experience? Simply raise your hand and I will unmute you. Okay, Jen, I'm going to unmute you. Hi, Jen.
Oh, hi, Emma. Good morning, everybody. I learned, it's just everything that you said is true, but I guess you don't really believe it until you feel it. But my body and mind seemed happier, more confident, more calm, lighter, like, I could just take things more in stride. And it feels really good.
So what did you learn makes you feel the exact opposite?
The exact opposite. I mean, it would be before this detox. I guess, on the times when, if you go out for a night of drinking, you wake up in the morning, you don't feel well. If it's eating too many carbs, which I've been known to do, I know that makes me feel extremely lethargic. You could go into what I call carb coma after having if you had pancakes for a Sunday morning for breakfast, without having any protein with it just puts me to sleep.
Mm-hmm. So that's about the food. Now, what were your life, how was your different self-care this week versus before?
I have to say, I forgot to mention, I really enjoyed the yoga videos. And I felt a definite difference in my flexibility from the beginning of the week to the end of the week.
How interesting.
Yeah, no, that felt really good doing it. Doing it in small bites each morning. I think it really helped a lot. And getting the necessary sleep, the first night I think I slept 10 hours, which I haven't done in a long time. Um, and since then, I think, like as my body maybe acclimated more to the detox, I didn't sleep as, 10 hours, but I was like 8 to 9. For whatever reason, this past last night I only had 7, and I tried to sleep longer and I just couldn't. Like I was just wide awake and feeling energetic. So I got up and I made my smoothie. So I'm feeling really, really good.
This is so awesome. I'm so proud of you. This is great.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
so I'll bring you back on to maybe speak about results in a second, but I want to see if anyone else has any learnings, things they've discovered about themselves this week. So if you have anything that you want to share with us, simply raise your hand and I will unmute you or type your comment in the chat box. And while I wait for somebody to courageously step up to the task, I'm going to actually piggyback on what you've said, Jen, which is really interesting is about the yoga video. One of the things that I really discovered about my own body through my, own practice of detoxing repeatedly is that the food that I eat and the food I made you eat is food for flexibility. That's the food that really nourishes your joints, your tissues, your tendons, your ligaments, and so you would actually feel a lot more flexible physically by eating those foods. Then if in addition to that you have an exercise routine like the yoga, which is a flexibility and mind focus kind of, relaxing routine, and then on top of that you're adding, you know, uh, additional sleep and all of this, like the way you feel your mind feeling calm and your body feeling more flexible, this is all one feeling that's translated through different reality, like your mind, your heart, your body, they're all feeling that same, fluidity. And so I just wanted to point that out because a really efficient self-care routine is one that is trying to make you feel the way you want to feel. But every single aspect of your self-care routine are directed to that objective. So if your objective was to feel calm and more flexible, then having foods that foster that state, having, a self-care routine like a form of exercise or a form of spiritual, meditation, of calming down, of, ways that you really cater to yourself that really are targeted to feeling calmer, it's all going to affect your mind, your physique, and your heart. So just wanted to put that out there because it's really fascinating that you've made that connection. So well done, Jen. It's really amazing. Okay. Is anyone else wanting to share something here with us at this point in time? Simply raise your hand and I will unmute you. Okay, so we're going to move on to the results. So through our Facebook page, I've seen a lot of different, chat from all of you about how you felt. So there have been weight loss. Some people have lost like 8 pounds in that week. Others have started to feel no more joint pain, no more back pain, less anxiety, less fear. So there was some kind of a, emotional calming effect of doing this. Other things had to do with your exercise. So one of the gentlemen on the detox have expressed that he was able to run faster, he spin harder, he actually went back to hard exercise this weekend and there was like no pain in his legs. He actually didn't feel the burn. He had to really work really, really, really hard to start feeling any kind of discomfort through the exercise. So basically a mind and a body that's rejuvenated, that feels lighter, that is more functional. So I wanted to know what were some of your particular results. Is your skin different, your hair different? Like how does that look? So I'm going to unmute. I see your hand is still up, Jen, so I'm going to unmute you again.
Oh, My hand was up? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that. I do feel my results. So my results, I feel, well, I got on the scale this morning and I'm down 8 pounds.
Ooh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It feels so good. Um, and I do feel more flexible, as we were talking about earlier with the yoga, which feels great. Um, I'm feeling really happy. I'll be honest, I haven't incorporated, just because of my schedule, I've been busy, I haven't done the meals incorporating the grains yet. I was going to try to start that, maybe today or tomorrow. Like I kind of prolonged, I had so much leftover food from Thursday and Friday. I just kept eating that. And then being on the go, when I'm on the go, I have the shakes. But I feel a lot lighter, and my stomach looked less bloated, or not bloated this morning at all. So that was really good.
Congratulations. Because you mentioned that the carbs were kind of, an issue for you, or you feel that typically grains or any kind of type of grains make you feel, bloated or lethargic, or that carb coma you were talking about. How have you thought about how you're going to integrate back the grains in your diet?
I don't want to.
Okay, so do you know why we have grains in our diet?
Um, well, you would know better than I, actually.
Yeah, but I'm just wanting to try to see what kind of reason you would give yourself to eat them.
I think, grains are good carbohydrates, right? And that fuels your brain, and you need it for energy.
That's right. It's a long-lasting energy. So when in your life would you need those kinds of grains? When do you need long-lasting energy?
Long lasting. I mean, how are we talking long throughout the day, or long like stored energy? Because I feel like
No,
I have enough stored energy on my thighs right now that I don't think I need any extra. Just
yeah.
that now.
So the fat is a great fuel, but it's really hard to burn fat when you do high intensity exercise, because the fuel for high intensity, or even moderate, like an aqua class, for instance, or any kind of spin class or weightlifting, it's sugar you're burning. So it's carbohydrates, right? Because
Okay.
it's more readily available. Um, so when I say long-lasting energy, it would be if you were going to not have any food for 3 or 4 hours, and a hard level of exercise. So what I notice, a lot of the things that happen here in this country is people are really eating every 2 hours. I've noticed that. It's kind of a cultural difference, because back in France, you basically have your breakfast at home and there's nothing available, until noon, and then there's really nothing available until, maybe 4 or 5 p.m. and then dinner. So you would use grains where you're going to go all morning without having food, or if you're going to go for a long hike in the weekend, or you're going to go for a run somewhere, and you're going to be out of real food for a while, then you're going to have those grains. If you have also digestive issues like constipation or diarrhea or any kind of things that just doesn't work well, whole grains are actually a great way to increase fiber in your body, and to also, depending on the grain you use, calm out your stomach and help you feel better. So you have to use grains not as a daily habit when you're sensitive to them, right? When you have some blood sugar sensitivity. But you have to use them strategically. The days you're going to be very active, a lot outside of the house, on the go, grains are awesome, because you don't have to just stop and eat all the time. While if you're having a green smoothie, and depending on how rich your green smoothie, but a green smoothie is awesome carb, but you may be hungry before noon. You may need a little bit of something to eat at 10 or 10:30. If you're having an oatmeal for breakfast, or an overnight, rice pudding of some kind, you're good until noon. So I want you to think in those terms, that when you're going to use those grains, they'll be unprocessed grains, not into a flour format, because that's quick sugar, but they'll be long, and they'll be because you're going to really use them for long-lasting energy and digestive health.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's helpful.
And in one serving of grain, one serving for weight loss is half a cup. So half a cup of rice, half a cup of millet, half a cup of quinoa. That's one serving, right? So if you're having a whole cup, it's 2 servings. So, and if you're really that hungry, then better to have half a cup, you know, for breakfast and then half a cup for dinner or for lunch. But you know what I mean? Like, one of the things that you learn when you do the detox is that you can really thrive on not a lot of food and not a lot of calories, by the way. I didn't want to scare you guys with the low amount of calories of your first 3 days, but it was really calculated to be kind of at your metabolic, you know, rate. So it was little, you know, it was like around 1,200 calorie, which is, for a lot of us here in the U.S., it's kind of half what we eat. Because when you look at the American RDA is really around 2,000 calorie, right? Everything is based on 2,000 calories. So just want to let you know that if you have high density food, you don't need a lot of food. And so when you know that, and when you go back to carbs, like the heavier, denser carbs, which also have lots of, you know, vitamins and minerals, but they're denser, you want to have less of those quantities. Because nutrient density-wise, having a kale versus a brown rice, they're both needed, but the kale is like so much more powerful than the brown rice would be for weight loss. Make sense? So I hope that was helpful. Is there anyone else that would like to share what their results have been? I've seen all of you here on the webinar. Anybody wants to raise their hand or share in writing what they've experienced? Okay. Awesome. Great. So, oh, I have a great comment here saying 1,200 calories is great for my body in losing weight. No wonder it worked so well. So then when you go back to solid food, we'll talk about that in a second, but you have to be strategic about how you do that. And so I'll speak to that in a second. Anyone else? Okay. Great. Well, if you want to share more of your super achievement and get everybody to cheer with you, please use the Facebook page today. Actually, this page will be open until the end of the month, but do brag about your results. You've done so much work. This community is a supportive community. We want to hear you brag. We want to hear your joy. I feel that when somebody shines, when I shine, I give permission to you to shine. And when you shine, you give me permission to shine. Like, it's really a win-win situation when you have somebody happy and it really says how happy they are. Because it really just is inspiring, right? And it's really allowing somebody else to come out of their shell and show how good they're doing as well. So please do not sit on your laurel. Just tell the world how amazing you are and how good you've done. And whatever you've done this week, you did at least something that was different from what you've done before. And just for that one step, you should be like totally, you know, celebrated. So I'm excited for you. I celebrate you. I know how you feel. And it's just on top of the world. So the question is, how do we stay on top of the world when we transition out of the detox? So I prepared a few things, kind of like my words of advice, I would call them. There are 5 of them, 6 of them. The first one is, the law I go by is, you are what you eat and what you don't excrete. So meaning that everything that you eat is becoming your blood, your cells, your hair. It's becoming your physical appearance. When you eat foods that are really rich in collagen, in sulfur, all those things, they just really make your skin look plump. Your cheekbones are nice and high, and you know your bone structure is beautiful, and it's holding your posture. It's holding your your beautiful appearance. Like, if you don't nourish your bones, you don't nourish your blood. It starts with the blood, which nourishes everything, and what nourishes the blood is the food. So once you have a healthy blood, you generally have everything goes well in your body. If you exercise, this blood circulates throughout your body, and it's really feeding that beautiful appearance. But what's really exciting also is what you eat. That blood becomes your thought. I mean, where do you think your thought come from, right? It's all of those beautiful neurons that you have in your brain, and then your gut is the center of your intuition, of your emotion, of your heart. So when those tissues are healthy and vibrant, and they're not filled with infection and, bacteria or if they're not, your gut specifically is not filled with, indigested food that's rotting in there for weeks and months, you feel a lot better and you think clearer, you have the best ideas, you are fearless because you're feeling strong, a very alive human being. But I like that sentence because it's also about what you don't excrete. So when we eat a lot of food that contain chemicals or any artificial ingredients, any fillers, these things are not digested in your body, but they stay in your body. Like your body doesn't know how to digest aspartame, or there's nothing living in that thing. So aspartame or any other kind of chemicals is going to stay locked into your tissues. And so that's what you don't excrete, right? And so you are the sum of the good food you're eating and the sum of the crap that stays in your body. And the more crap you have, the more crappy you feel. So really this is why you did this detox, to try to evacuate some of the crap in your body and try to feel a lot better. And you do feel a lot better when you're cleaner. So remember that. Every time you're going to eat something, remember how much of the good stuff is there in this and how much of the bad stuff am I going to ingest and keep in my body. So, and I'm not saying we should never have a cupcake. Actually, the Aqua Cycling studio is right across Billy's Bakery, which has those awesome cupcakes, and they all have like the worst quality sugar, the worst flour, and they're like those weird colors. So every time you have one of those cupcakes, you know that it's a lot of bad stuff you're ingesting. But now you know what foods are cleansing. You just want to try to balance that out. How often can you go by eating something wrong? Is it once a month? Or, and it really depends on the rest of your diet. If you're a really clean eater, and you have once in a while one of those things, you'll be okay. Or actually, if you're really clean, you have the worst headache, and then you'll be cured of the cupcake for a couple months. But just wanted to make you think about this, right? You are what you eat and what you don't excrete. The second thing, I think, is a word of advice as you transition out of the detox, is to remember to eat your food for its nutrient density. Nutrient density means that it has a lot of nutrition, meaning minerals, vitamins, phytonutrients, lots of things like this, and low amount of calorie for the amount of nutrient boost that it gives you. So one of my favorite quote also from a very known author is, eat food, not too much, and mostly plant. If you follow that advice, you actually focus on nutrient density, right? Because in order not to overeat, the food you eat needs to make you feel satisfied, really satisfied. And the food that makes you feel satisfied is the food that's nutrient dense, right? And the food that also has a lot of volume in it. So, vegetables have a lot of water, a lot of fiber, and they are very voluminous. So they take a lot of room in your belly. That really makes you feel satiated. And on top of that, they have all the micronutrients you need. Mostly plants. This week you ate a vegan diet. I'm not saying you should be vegan, but through the learning you had this week, you learned that you didn't miss any of the founding building block to your health by eating that way. Now, I love, a grilled chicken, and I love shrimp, and I just love I love cheese, and I'm not going to remove them from my diet. But I know that these are burdening my digestive system. They are the ones that give me food coma, that make me feel lethargic, make me feel like wanting a nap rather than focusing on the next big thing for me. And so I'm just really going to make sure that those other foods are supplemental to my primarily vegan type of recipes. I do not have any allergies, but some of you, or food sensitivities, but some of you may have some, right? Some of you may be sensitive to grains, meaning when you have a little bit of grain, you're okay, but if you have a bit more, you're really feeling, you're hurting, right? Your intestinal villi is hurting. So what I recommend as you go out of the diet is to only, and if you're not aware of what really is setting you off, is to reintroduce those other food one at a time. That means one at a time means that, let's say next week, you're going to start with the easiest foods. So maybe you're going to have an egg, right? You're going to have to eat eggs during that day, maybe 2 eggs, and then just wait and see how you feel. And then the following day, you'll say, okay, well, let's remove the egg. We're going to add cheese. I'm going to have a piece of cheese. You know, I'm going to have whatever you want. Like, add back dairy, or add back milk, or add back yogurt, and just wait and see how you feel. And I would do it early in the day so that you have the entire day to feel how it feels. Because if you do it before going to bed, it's not really going to help you identify what's going on. And then the next day, you know, make sure you cut the dairy, cut the eggs out, and then just introduce back maybe grain. Maybe introduce a bagel. I'm sure that you would be fine with a bowl of grains, just rice, which you're already doing. But trying to see how bad, you know, a bagel makes you feel, or if it makes you okay because it's one and only one, and it was by itself. Or so experiment one day at a time, adding back some things. Be clear about what foods are healthy for you and which ones affect you negatively. Also, another thing to think about is sometimes you may feel great drinking, let's say, coffee on the weekend. You don't have any heartburn, but if you have it in the morning on your way to work, maybe it's the worst heartburn in the world. So think about the environment in which you eat your food. And that's my third point, slow down to succeed. When you slow down, you are digesting your food a lot better. You feel satiated a lot better. You know that. But think about your experience over the past 7 days. When you take the time to rest, to break your day with some me time, you're actually increasing your liveliness. You're increasing your desire to work. You're increasing your desire, or your amount of creativity and the ideas comes to you more easily. It's very hard to find a new idea when you're stressed out and everything is back to back, and then you only have that hour to find your big idea to pitch to the client. Like, it doesn't work like this. Creativity happens when it happens. And it happens when you have a really healthy body and you carve out some space to think, you know. So I want you to think about that. Jen mentioned that she did the little yoga in the morning and she found that it was really helping her be flexible and calming her down. So slowing down could just be this, doesn't mean doing less, although doing less is great, but it could just mean having a practice that makes you feel that you're expanding time, right? Time is really a perception. You can feel rushed or you can feel calm and relaxed for the same amount of activity on both days. So find a way to slow down to make yourself succeed and enjoy your food better and enjoy, you know, high energy life. And so I gave you several ways to do that. I want to repeat again what those were. One was having a morning practice for you, and that can be your yoga. I know that Ann Kohler, some of you may know her. She's an instructor at Crunch in New York City and an Aqua Studio. She does the 5-5-5. So every morning it's 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. She does 5 minutes of journaling. Then she does 5 minutes of, you know, stretching and yoga or something like that, right? That's like a nice physical connection. And then she does 5 minutes of meditation. But it could be 5 minutes of silence if you don't know how to meditate, right? So 5 minutes journaling, it cheers up your mind, you feel happy, right? You're grateful for things. 5 minutes of connecting with your body, waking up your body with a bit of yoga, and then 5 minutes of meditation or complete stillness. And just those 15 minutes every single morning, even if that's all you got throughout the day, could just reveal a very different day for you. Right, so find what that is. You also have the body scrub that you could do. There's a lot of different things that I've shared with you. Number 4, integrated self-care. I'm going to just keep repeating this, but self-care means that you're feeding your body, you're feeding your heart, and you're feeding your mind. The food will feed all three, but then also exercise, building, nurturing relationships in your life, having, doing something that you love every day, all of those things are actually part of your self-care toolkit. So find what works for you. But think about feeding your body first and your heart and your mind, and do something that targets all of those things all the time. And that also means identifying what is not nurturing to your body, heart, and mind. So one of my clients, she had every night a call with her mom who lives in a different country, but the call would be at 11 p.m. or midnight, and it was always aggressive. And she had to call her mom, otherwise her mom would worry sick, right? So every single day, this woman had to call her mom at 11 or 12. And it was always difficult because it was a difficult person, her mother. So right there, she had like something toxic in her life at the worst time of the day, meaning she couldn't sleep afterwards because it always ended up in an argument. And it had to be that time because her mom worked in the other country. So that, for me, is not part of my integrated self-care. Identify what is ruining your heart, draining your mind, and, making your body sick, and remove it. Sometimes removing something is as important as adding something good into your life. The number 5 is bioindividuality. There is not one diet fit all, and there is not one self-care ritual fit all. So look for the answers within you. This week I gave you a menu that was kind of imposed, and I encouraged you to do certain, self-care activities. Some things work, some don't work. I'm sure some of the dishes didn't work for you, and some worked really great. And so I want you to go back with that learning today before you step back into the world tomorrow, and think about, write down on a paper what really worked for you. What's your bio-individual, self-care routine? What are the foods that make you feel incredibly energized? So, for instance, we had May, one of our detox participants, who mentioned that as soon as she eats kale, she feels like so tingly and energized, and it's just like one of those things that really work for her. So, somebody else mentioned, when I eat root vegetables and carrots, it makes me feel really grounded and calm. Or if I have sweet vegetables, in my food, I feel like it cures my food cravings. I have stable blood sugar, and I feel like a happy baby, super content. Not wanting anything, not nagging myself. It's just like nice. So find those foods that make you feel differently, write them down. They become your pharmacy. And then think about, bio-individuality-wise, what it is that you need to thrive. Do you need the quiet time in the morning, or do you need it during the day? What do you need to do at night to feel rested and be able to fall asleep easily? Think about what that is. That's your bio-individuality thing. Nobody else can tell you what to do for yourself. And now you have an awareness that's really raised. You have an acute awareness about how you feel and what makes you feel good. So before you forget all this, write it down. And the reason why you want to write it down is to get to my number 6, support. You cannot go at it alone. Once you know what you need to thrive, because you've experienced this week, and you may have isolated yourself a little bit to be successful this week and really focus on yourself. But we're going back into the world tomorrow, and lack of support is usually what prevents us from taking care of ourselves. It's not the willpower, because you really want to take care of yourself and your body wants you to. But there are too many other people that have things that they need you to do, that basically have an agenda for you, or that you need to cater to. And so that's what I call lack of support. When you have support, you tell it like it is. I almost feel like men do that really well. They just tell them what they need. They tell people what they need, and they just take it, So for us women, I think we have to work a little harder here in asking for what we need without making excuses, without trying to bend over backwards for other people. If you really need to have a quiet time in the morning, ask for your spouse. If you have children, hey, I need my 5-5-5 time. I need my 15 minutes. So can you help get the kids off bed and just dress them up? So I have my 5-5-5, right? Or, if you need to leave earlier to do something, or just ask for what you need and people will see how balanced and lively you are, and it's going to really feed you. So that's what I wanted to tell you. Something also that I noticed, and that's actually something for the men that I work with, it's emotional support. We may need to ask more for what they want, I feel, and just not feel guilty by taking care of themselves. Because while men, I think that need to be conscious that there is a lot of emotional stress and expectations to perform. So recognizing when you feel anxious, sad, sorry, fearful, all of those emotions, and asking for support by simply connecting with the people that make you feel your best. So support could just calling somebody that you love, right, and just unwinding what your day was like and if there was some stress. So think about that. Where do you feel connected and isolated, and how do you create some kind of a support system at work and at home and within your friends so that you can stay the course and implement day in and day out your bio-individual self-care routine. These really are my 6 parting words of advice. Each of them is kind of a mountain of things. They really are my personal grid for health. And we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. You know, I'm completely reaching and refining those for myself. And it's changing over time. You know, what I needed 10 years ago is not what I need now, and not what I will need 10 years from now. So being flexible and listening to your body, trusting that your body knows what you need, you just need to listen and give it what it needs, is really your best bet to stay the course, you know. Because I'll tell you one thing, I promise you that on Monday, your body doesn't want to eat a bagel or a cupcake, or it doesn't want to stay late night. It just doesn't want to. So if you're doing those things, ask yourself why you're doing them. Because somewhere there is a self-sabotage, or there's some kind of something is off, right? Because your body is not asking for this. So be mindful, slow down to succeed, and I'm really looking forward to hearing how that goes. I would like you to communicate with me on the Facebook page and let me know how next week's going for you. You know, how's the transition going? And use our group. We're 45 people in this detox this time around. It's a lot of people, and we can really help each other out throughout the process by using the Facebook page. With this, I'll pause, and I'll ask you if you have any questions. So I'm reading a few comments that we got here. I have that one comment here saying, I extended the smoothies for 1 additional day, so this is day 1 on solids. I did develop cold-like symptoms, and that is one of the detox effects that you would have. Typically, some people may feel nauseous or cold or have the chill, so it's definitely something to consider. So when that happens, just continue having the liquids. Right. Please raise your hand if you have any question. Okay, so I have another question here. Is there a list of foods that aren't digestible? Anything that's not food, basically, is not digestible. And anything that your body would be allergic to or sensitive to is not digestible either. Does that answer a question? So basically, what's not food will not be digestible by your body because the enzymes in your body will not know what to do with it. And then the foods that you are sensitive or allergic to, let's say gluten for some people. And by the way, the whole gluten issue, or it's amazing. It feels like 80% of America says they are gluten intolerant, but there's really just a very tiny percentage of people who have celiac disease. I just think that people's digestive system is overburdened because they're eating too much crap too often. But if you had celiac disease, eating gluten would actually not be digestible for you, and worse, because it would destroy your intestinal lining, it would actually make the other food not digestible, right? Your intestines would not be able to digest those other foods because it would be impaired. Does that answer the question? Great. So something that's not clean, it's something that's man-made. I have a list of 30 dozen. That's really the list of all of the chemicals that the food industry has developed over the past 20 years. Basically, the big categories would be preservatives, flavor, like anytime you see natural flavor, stay clear. So anything that flavors the food, preserve the food, anything that would give consistency to the food, like there's a lot of fillers, any artificial sweeteners, all of those things are chemicals, and they're made from different things. Sometimes they're made from tar. You also have heavy metals in food. So cadmium is the big one that actually has been found in a lot of protein powder and protein drinks, like muscle milk, for instance. So that's what you want to stay clear. And sometimes it's written on the label, but sometimes it's the provenance of the food. You may have heard about the latest crisis around the rice coming from China being full of heavy metals because the industry has polluted the water in some of the rice fields in China, and so those rice are being grown in a very dirty water, basically. And trace amount of metals have been found in brown rice that has been, that's sold here in stores, and has led people to get very sick. Fish, there's some fish that they're natural, but some fish are now toxic to eat. My number one toxic fish is tuna. I haven't eaten tuna in over 2 years. And even though, it's a fish that's live, and even if it's wild caught, it's actually almost worse. They are eating other fish that are very toxic. So that's not about the processing of the fish, that's the fish itself that's very toxic. And any kind of big, large predators, big fishes that eat other fishes will generally be those who will be very toxic. And so you want to stay clear of those. So it's really about raising your IQ about quality of food. I'm answering all those questions right now that I'm seeing on posting here on the chat function. One of the resources that I would recommend to stay current with the quality of your food and your water is the Environmental Working Group. The website is www.w www.e for environmental, W for working, and G for group, .org, ewg.org. It's a fantastic resource. They have a lot of reports. They're a big advocate to keeping, the food clean. So there you'll have the list of the most processed or most covered with pesticide produced, for instance. I want to tell you that you are some of the most educated people when it comes to food. You've learned so much. Please save my emails and read them again in a month's time. Or if you feel you're starting to sleep, just go back to that detox, do it again, use some of the recipes, just keep learning. You can follow, my newsletter will always have some information for you. I'm putting things on my website. I want you to be informed so that you can really be healthy. And the reason why I really want you to be healthy is that there's a reason why you're on this earth. There's a reason why you're here, and you've got this amazing intelligence and this intuition and this beautiful body. It's that you have to make an impact. And if you're unhealthy, there's no way you can make an impact. You're just too bogged down with health issues. And there's no energy to make something big out of yourself. So when you're healthy, and that's my little part here is helping you get healthy, then you can really shine. And the world needs you to be big. It doesn't need you to be small and crippled and hiding. All right, just get out there, show yourself, show up the way you are with all of your health, and it's going to be just an amazing life. Another question that I had is, can we keep up with this week's program? Perhaps repeating it for continued weight loss. Absolutely, you can do that. I would just, if you repeat the program by the letter, then you need for those first 3 days to really lay low, right? That's what I would advocate. One of you had a really rocky detox because she didn't slow down. So she kept working out and she kept doing a lot of things and, just going at 100 miles an hour, not sleeping, going to bed at midnight, and of course, hungry all the time, pangs of hunger, headaches, not feeling great at all. She was making her body suffer, right? So there's no way the body could detox. And it was food deprived. I mean, it had good food, but this is the food that you need for your body to heal. And so if you don't have an environment that makes you heal, doing this detox again won't help you. So my advice would be rather, and you don't want to detox too often, like you don't want to have a stop and go. If your lifestyle is going to be, okay, I pig out for a month and then I do a detox for a week and then I pig out again for a month, you're going to be sick. And your body will actually anticipate the stop and go, and it's going to start, not losing any weight, gaining any weight, trying to find a way to buffer itself. And a lot of the fat that we're having in our body is really buffer fat, as I call it, meaning has nothing to do with what you're eating. It's self-created. Your body creates fat, right? It's not something you ingest and poof, it gets and it stores somewhere. It's something that you make. Of course you ingest some fat, but you also make a lot of it. And so a lot of the people that I work with that are overweight, the key to losing weight is finding what is making their body suffer so that their body is actually creating this protective armor. And that can be against mental abuse, physical abuse, because you're too hard on yourself. Any kind of abuse or anything that really doesn't nurture you will lead your body to try to protect you because it loves you so much by creating kind of a buffer between you and the outside world. So if you want to repeat this program, be clear about why you're doing it. If you want to have continued weight loss, what you're doing right now is the right thing to do. You will continue losing weight if you continue taking care of yourself, doing your little yoga, doing your breathing, really being gentle and slow, etc. Just varying your recipes, eating a lot of different types of food. You could still lose weight even adding all the other foods back. Veganism is not for everybody, Some people really need to eat animal product. You just need to know how much you need and why you need it. So that's my 2 cents on that question. And then you can decide to do only one day of smoothies, I love smoothies when I'm on the go because I know that when I'm on the go, I will not really nourish myself well because it's hard to digest food you have to chew when you're on the go. You have to be relaxed and seated and take time to chew a salad. It takes forever to chew a salad. So when I'm on the go and I know it's kind of like I'm in a hurry to make things happen that one day, I'll go for liquid, really nutritious liquid. Now that's one way that you could use smoothies. You get lots of nutrition, minimum digestive burden. So I hope that is helpful. Is there any last question? Raise your hand if you want to contribute. Okay. Well, I hope this was really helpful for you. I love doing this with you. It's just so much fun to be several marching on the same, blueprint and seeing how you all feel very different. You all feel your best, but what your best is very different. For some of you, it's like so high energy. For others of you, it's like, I feel so light. For others, it's like, feel so calm and centered. The way you actually describe your results is so different that really, it really is beautiful to see that you each found with the same food, your body reacted differently. So I want you to remember this. I want you to say it out loud like we began a week ago. My body loves me. Say it out loud. Do it again. Okay, one more time. My body loves me. So your body loves you. Make sure to take care of it. The only next detox that I will organize this year, 2014, will be in October. It will be late October, and it's going to depend on how the weather is like, but I'm thinking it's going to be about 10 days. and it will be just before the month of November so that you're ready to tackle the November, December, January, February dark month and maintain the same energy and calm you feel now. While everybody else will be sick in the subway, you'll actually survive. So it will be a lot later. Just enjoy your summer. The food is going to start transitioning also, so be mindful of this. Rather than buying all of your food on Fresh Direct, I encourage you to buy your food sometimes once a week or maybe once every 2 weeks. Go visit the farmer's market. It's the best way to know what's in season, or follow my guide of the seasons. I'm going to share a lot of knowledge also on my site. I'm having some menus that I've developed for you that will be shared with you every week until the middle of September. So it's going to take you through the late summer month. The food differs between the early summer and the late summer. In the early summer, it's very cold and cooling, and it really targets your heart and your intestines. And then in the late summer, so starting August into mid-September until the fall begins, it's really about sweeter, ripe foods, right? The tomatoes are very ripe, the fruit are very ripe and heavy. So these are like kind of sweet, still cooling food, but they're not cold, they're not chilling, and they enable you to pamper your pancreas, your spleen, and your stomach. So I know a few of you have stomach, issues. You have heartburns, or you have digestive, issues, or you have blood sugar issues, or diabetes even. This is the month where you can actually heal your pancreas with the food that are out there this month. It's really what you want to focus on right now, and it's the beginning of building your immune system for the winter. This food, because it's sweet, is also very healing for people that suffer inflammation. It's really, really calming to those people. So follow my recipes if you want. These are also going to be vegetarian or vegan because I want to emphasize, I want to teach you how to use plants. But I encourage you to add other animal products to it, but make sure you eat those plants. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants, and you'll succeed. All good? We're arriving at time. I wanted to thank you. Thank you so much for participating in my program. I wouldn't be here without you, and I'm so grateful you gave me a chance to do what I love for 7 days. I'm actually really sad, very, very sad to part with you. It's always, oh my goodness, could we just have another week? So I'm thinking about each and every one of you. I know you all, and I'm so proud of you. Have a lovely rest of your summer. And I'll talk to you virtually. Bye-bye.